Hi guys, Steve Junkin here, field forester with the Society for the Protection of New Hampshire Forests. We're here at Creek Farm in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. We've set up a portable sawmill with the help of AJ Dupere. He works at the Urban Forestry Center, also in Portsmouth. And we are sawing up some black locust that blew over in a recent storm about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Those toppled over, and yeah, we decided since it's locust, we were gonna do a little sawing of it and basically create some boards that we're gonna end up using for some trail infrastructure, some bridges, maybe some benches. Locust is a pretty great wood for that. It's very rot resistant, so we could have sawed it up into firewood. It makes a great firewood, and actually the tops we did cut up into firewood. But rather than create that whole tree into firewood, we decided we should saw up some of these boards because they're straight trees, so they make great they'll make great boards. So that's why we're here, come and see how a portable sawmill works. AJ is a pro here, and maybe we'll be asking him some questions throughout the process, and you guys can learn about it and maybe try out a mill yourself. I hear you can rent them, so anybody can possibly do this at their own home if they have the trees themselves, or they can get trees delivered to their residence or wherever they're going to be sawing them. And you can avoid the lumber mill and create your own lumber from your own trees. It's a kind of a neat process. So
my name is AJ Dupere. I'm the urban forester for the Division of Forest and Lands, and today we're here to mill up some locust. This tree fell down on the property, so we're going to repurpose it for bridge decking and bridge supports for some of the nature trails that SPNF has around the state. We've already milled up some stuff. You check out the slabs on the left-hand side of the truck. We've got some boards on the right side, some 2-inch stock and some 5/4. And basically, I'd like to give everybody a short sort of history of milling and forestry in the sort of northeast area, and then we'll get into looking at this log and see what we did with it. So basically around the 1600s, when we started to develop as a country and started to develop resources, everything was about mass pine trees. We were a shopping market for mass pine trees. They were all big, huge pines in this area, 36, even bigger inch diameter, and stuff was tall and straight. They didn't have the white pine weevil problems. They didn't have insect problems, all that kind of stuff. And so everything was, shipped, dragged by horses or beasts of burden or whatever down to the coast and shipped back to England or France or whatever country was laying claim to them at the time. In the early 1600s, we started to develop mills because people didn't want to, live in a sort of a mud hut. You needed boards. Basically, early manufacturing of lumber, one guy stood on top, one guy stood on the bottom, and he pulled down a saw on top of his head all day. And that's known as a pit saw. So you'd be up on a log and elevated a little higher than this, so you could stand underneath that log, maybe down an earthen trench, and you'd pull that saw down on top of you. And somebody would pull the saw back up, you'd pull the saw back down on you. So it cut one way. That's where the term the pits come from. 1940s, 1950s, everything was shipped in a wooden box. We actually made our own boxes and shipped our own stuff back then. And so every mill around here was a box mill. One of the biggest mills we had in the state in this whole area was right up in Barnstead. Turned into Timco, but it was Pittsfield box back in the old days. And they just made little boards. So they could cut some logs and, somebody just cut them all up, 18, 20 inches long, 2 feet long, whatever else. And it turned into, little wooden boxes that you put stuff in and shipped it someplace. I had an opportunity to buy it. Our facility is trust funded. The trustees supported me on purchasing this mill to do educational outreach and programs, and that's what we use this mill for. We do some production milling for wood for our own use, but we're not marketing or selling any of the wood. So we work with partners to do projects like this, school groups, communities. Jack and I were talking earlier, I've been involved in a couple projects. We milled wood with this bandsaw mill in Manchester, New Hampshire, and it's on the USS Manchester. And it's part of the woodwork and that kind of stuff in the USS Manchester, the ship that was commissioned down here. It's sort of an opportunity and a chance to to repurpose and to reclaim some of these logs. They're not great quality stuff, but it's locust, so it's very valuable wood as far as a structural building. It's very rot resistant. It was close by. Steve has helped me out on some projects, and he's gonna owe me a few more helps after we get done this. But It all sort of goes around and cycles around. There's a lot of trees that are taken down that probably highly suspect having some metal in it, having debris in it, and that wood just can't make its way into the commercial milling network, because a commercial mill can't run into a old birdhouse bracket or an old nail that you forgot about, because there's a half a dozen guys down the line screaming that the machinery's broke and something's going on. With a band like this, we haven't hit any metal yet. We hit a little bit of dirt, we saw some sparks, but the band on this is $30 or so, so the scale is really completely different. And so I've cut my share of metal with this. I've actually cut the mill a couple of times. If you go around the back side, when you're doing presentations and talking more than you're milling and all that kind of stuff, and you skim some nuts and bolts. I scared Steve a couple of times already, but when you're focusing on it and look at the mill and stuff, you can mill quite a bit of wood with these in a day. So your first cut and your third cut make all the decisions in the whole log. So my first cut in this log, I put the log up. It's relatively flat, straight. We saved the best ones for last because the early ones today were pretty ugly. They had a lot of sort of banana shapes to them, and you'll see that in the slabs. Some of the slabs are really thick on one end and they're down to a taper on the other. But again, it's worth milling. So our first cut on this log opens it up, and I want to open the log up about 6 to 8 inches wide, and I want to take off a slab that's relatively full length, and I don't want to leave enough wood in this slab that I could get another board out of here. So we're looking for 5/4 lumber, which is 1 1/4 inches thick, plus 1/8 of an inch of sawdust going out that side. So there's not another 5/4 board in this slab. If I wanted to make some 1-inch stuff or whatever, maybe I could have snuck a 1 inch out of here, but you're really not going to get much more out of this slab, even though that end's got some weight to it. So I was trying to get rid of all these defects. Had a knot here with some holes in it. You just open it up. So there's a little bit of wood waste right here, but that really only went down part of my leg. And I thin right out. So it's a fairly crooked log. And I think we did the right cut in that situation. A little bit of waste, but somebody's going to turn it into firewood.